It's Rick's Corner with Rick Drasin.
Thank you. Hold it. Thank you. Well, today on Rick's Corner, there's an issue I want to talk about. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I've never brought it up. And it's about relationships in bodybuilding, not only with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, if you're a female, but your parents, your friends, your family, and people on the street, because everybody approaches you in a different way. And back in the early days of the 70s, we were very unique people. There weren't a lot of us. We had really good bodies. There was a chosen few. The rest were average Joes. So when we were approached by people, it was almost in a negative way because we were unusual. It's like watching an elephant walk through a restaurant. That's a good analogy. I want to talk about, I had a girlfriend. I actually had 138 girlfriends, 139. My son and I counted one day because I kept track. This is before I got married. This girl was really pretty, 1969, and I'd come down to Santa Monica and go to the beach with her. Dark hair, beautiful girl, and we go to the beach. And one day she said to me, she says, Rick, I don't want to go to the beach anymore with you. Why? I said, why? What did I do wrong? It's not what you did wrong, it's just that you get more looks than I do. Everybody's staring at you and no one's looking at me and I'm pretty. I said, you are pretty. I said, but maybe it's because I was out there on that rock naked posing and I attracted a crowd. I'm just kidding. I said, it's because I happen to work out and I have muscle and nobody else does, and it's unusual. There's a lot of pretty girls around. They're all over the place. But there's no one who looks like us and the rest of the guys at the gym that train with me. And that's why it attracts a crowd. When we go into a restaurant, people stare. When we go down the street, people stare. They're always going, hey, look at that guy. Today it's more accepted. Everybody's in shape. Unless you're huge. Unless you're like 300 pounds, of course. But in those relationships, it can really break the relationship, because as much as they like how you look, they're also put off by it because it's intimidating. And it's not only intimidating to them, it's intimidating to people on the street, because people on the street didn't look like us, and they were like, oh, I don't want to be around those guys. Those guys are weird. There's something wrong. They work out in the gym all day long. And when you went to family functions and there were dinners, you'd sit down to eat and you'd eat the protein. We always went for the protein. You went to a party and there were tables of food. The protein was gone first. And people in the family would say, I don't understand why you can't eat everything that's on the plate. Why are you eating just the protein? Why don't you eat all the other stuff? I said, I don't eat that stuff. It's high in carbs and I don't want to get fat. Well, it's not going to get fat. You work out all the time, which is a fallacy, because they think you work out all the time, you're not going to get fat. Well, you're going to get fat if you eat that crap. So it doesn't really matter if you work out or not. You're going to get fat when you eat that. So I didn't do it. And I was always asked later, I said, you know, when you go somewhere, you're no fun because you don't enjoy yourself because you're eating that. I said, I enjoyed myself fine. I ate that and I had conversation. I said, but I don't like these conversations. One of the things that comes up back then, or even today, you don't take steroids, do you? Well, why do you ask that? Because they can kill you. I said, well, I've never known anybody that died from steroids. And today, after 45 years, I've never known anybody who died from steroids. The news takes it, blows it out of proportion, and they'll say some wrestler who died or bodybuilder, you know, he was on drugs, he was taking steroids. They don't even know for a fact, but they throw that out there. Well, it's wrong, because they were taking street drugs, they were taking amphetamines, they were taking pain pills, all these things in excess, which probably killed them. They may have had a weak liver, a weak kidney, anything, and they had bad heart, who knows? But it wasn't from steroids. Ask any hospital across the country how many cases they have of steroid people dying. None. It just doesn't happen. So they put me on the defense. But of course, my answer also is, I take testosterone. I've taken a lot of things in my life, but right now I'm taking testosterone. I'm 65 years old. I need it. My body doesn't produce it. Women go through menopause, 45, 50 years old. Their estrogen drops. What do they put them on? Estrogen. Makes sense to me. It balances you out. It balances me out. So there's really nothing wrong with that, but you have to explain it. But see, people don't understand, because I have a saying that for those who know, no explanation is necessary. And for those who don't know, no explanation is going to do. Because no matter what you tell them, they're not going to believe it. So they have to believe what they want. All right, so that's my thing on steroids. You know what? Leave me alone about it. Let me do what I do. I'm not hurting anybody. But steroids, man, they can kill you. Well, there's a lot of other things that can kill you. The other thing was, back in those days, I used to hear from people, I don't know why you work out all the time. You're just going to turn to fat when you're about 25 or 30 years old because you'll quit. Well, muscle doesn't turn to fat, and I never quit, and I'm 65 now, and I still train 6 days a week. So those people can eat their words, because those are the same people now who are fat old men who have one foot in the grave, have no life, lethargic, boring, and they just got their 8-to-5 job and they're done and that's it. And that's the way that is. It didn't work that way. I didn't turn to fat and I didn't quit training. But they want to intimidate you because you're intimidating them and make you feel crappy for what you do. Another thing a wife asked me once, my wife, first wife, not this one, if you spent as much time on a job as you do in the gym, you'd be a millionaire. I don't know that I would be, because I'd be having a job and putting hours in, but how many people on an 8-hour day are productive? Most of them sit around the office, they're at the water fountain, they're on the phone, they're on the computers, they're really not working, they're sitting there. So they don't make a lot of money, they just put their hours in. I know that in the gym I put my hours in, I read the benefits in my body, and I carry it with me wherever I go, and you can't take that away. Even my overtime and my training helps. Plus I turned it into the entertainment business with commercials and films and wrestling, which I wanted to do, and it made me a lot of money, and I'm happy, and I had a great lifestyle. So you can't change somebody's life. I had a girlfriend, another one, who wanted me to go to work at Mattel with her dad because she didn't like the fact I worked out and wrestled at night. You need an 8-to-5 job with a suit and tie, a real job. Well, I said, what is a real job? A real job, according to television back in the day with Father Knows Best, was a man went to work at the insurance company. He came home at 5 o'clock, took his shirt and tie, or his tie off, or his coat off, and he put on a smoking jacket with a tie, sat down, smoked a pipe, read the paper, threw the kid in the air, and fell asleep. Real exciting life. Really exciting. He died at about 50. So no, I don't want a regular job. I never wanted one. I'm happy with what I do. The other thing is, you'll run into people who'll come up to you and they'll say, oh, you work out, huh? Yeah, I see you work out a little bit. I have a friend who lifts 400 pounds. He's this really big guy, 400 pounds. Yeah, well, good for him. I lifted 455, my best bench, and I was like 190 pounds when I did it. But still, that's good for him. Chances are the guy doesn't have any friends. Chances are if he does, the guy weighs 400 pounds and he probably doesn't lift 40 pounds. But they want to intimidate you. So they have to tell you, they always know somebody who's a little better than you because they want to make you feel that you're inferior to them because they feel inferior to you. These are things to remember. It's just so common that this happens. And it's just not right. I mean, it does happen, so you have to know how to deal with it. So relationships can be hard. You know, you have to have the right person. And you have to have an understanding. Back then there weren't girls in the gym a lot, so they didn't really get it. We'd go down to the marina, Arnold, Waller, and myself, and we'd hang out. We were the only big guys, and there were like 300 people on the dance floor. And girls would come up and want to feel our arms, and the other guys were like looking at us like, why are those guys here? But we attracted attention, and we did what we did, and it worked out fine. We ended up getting the girls to buy us breakfast afterwards, and the other guys went home alone. So, you know, it worked, and I don't regret it one bit. But those questions are always put to me, and the last thing I want to say is, people would come up to me back then, and they'd say, you don't want to be like those guys in the magazines, all big and lumpy. Oh, no, I don't want to be like those guys. No way. And I would pull out a couple of pictures that I had back and then, Muscle and Fitness or Iron Man, and I said, I am one of those guys in the magazines. Why would you even say that to me? Look, here's my photo. Oh, I had no idea because you had a jacket on and I couldn't tell. I said, well, you can't tell under my shirt unless you take my shirt off and you can see if I'm ripped. But that's me. And I am in the magazines. And I take offense at the fact that you asked me if I don't want to be like those guys. Of course I do. And I am. And I'm proud of it. And I'll carry it through the rest of my life. So if any of you have these problems in relationships, you can deal with it. You have to have a balance. You have to have a balance of training time, your work time, and your relationship time, because that's what makes things work. Don't get obsessive compulsive with one thing and make it your whole life, and don't go out to dinner and just talk bodybuilding. Don't talk about diet constantly. I have friends that do that and that bores the hell out of me. I don't want to talk about it. I want to enjoy when I go to the gym. I don't want to carry it back into the streets and talk about it all day, where I just can't even take my workout the next guy. I've talked it over too much. So remember that, have your balance, and things work out fine. But back in the day, this is the way we did things, and I know you like to hear this. And stay tuned for Rick's Corner, because I have so many more things coming out throughout the year. And thanks for being a fan.